and a warm welcome to the Aline with Aline Series 2, The Art of Healing. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the wonderful Reverend Angel Favorite. Angel is a multimedia artist. Angel is a Reiki practitioner. They work with the spiritualist tradition. They work with the art of alchemy and work with energies and healing to create safe spaces for us for self-care. And they have come on today to beautifully share their story with us and to really encourage and share their beautiful art in the world. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Aline.
Oh, it's an absolute delight to have you here. So what I would really like to ask you is, your work is phenomenal. I mean, I feel that's why when I'm talking about it, I stumble over my words. And I will put all the information where you can find Angel's website, get my right teeth in, website, all the information, all of the beautiful pieces that they've made, stunning. So when did you realize that there's so much that you do with the healing, the art installations? When did it all happen? How did it all start, please?
Yeah, I was going over this question and it was really difficult for me to figure out the beginning, but
Okay. When you were a child, were you really creative?
I wasn't really expressing in art, but I was reading a lot. I would go to the bookstores and be in the, metaphysical kind of reading about aliens and ancient technologies, and all these things were really inspiring to me. And I always, as a lot of people think, psychic abilities are something you're born with and you don't have access to that. And so for me, it was always like a kind of a fantasy world. Like, how do I get in there? Like, do I have to be a scientist? Do I have to be a doctor? Like, how can I like infiltrate this space and kind of, create there, or I don't know, be in that world. So that was like a real revelation for me when I
Curiosity. Yeah.
that, and just realizing that, oh, actually, you can learn how to open up your senses. You can cultivate these practices and become psychic. You can have these conversations with spirits and with elemental beings, and you can. It's not just people who are born special with these gifts. And when I started accessing that for myself, was really a game changer. And so, I mean, I started doing creative work. Like I studied film in college, and I would make costumes and props and create these worlds. But then I found myself spending most of my time editing and involved in this, creating these spaces that I didn't share with anyone. And it was like, what am I doing? Well, I liked having a small footprint where I wasn't, just making massive things and having them collect around me, but I wasn't sharing. So I felt like I was just kind of putting all this energy somewhere that was disappearing into a void. And so I switched my focus. I guess I mean, I've always been also like doing woodwork, so
Can
pretty
I just take you
interesting.
back to the costume making, if that's
Yeah,
okay? So
yeah.
how did that all transpire? So you were studying film and then you ended up creating costumes. I mean, that's hugely, that's an artist already. How did that happen?
When I was growing up, my dad had a girlfriend who was a costume designer, so I was always being taken to the set, and I would be hanging out, and she would show me, um, lessons, and I would like follow a piece of paper, like trace the design on the sewing machine. So I was always kind of learning how to use the sewing machines, and I never really I'm not that great of a, sewer or whatever, but I can make it work, and
I don't believe that.
together.
I don't believe that you're not that great.
And so when I came to New York, I was also, I got into a community of like young people like going out in the nightlife, and I made my way kind of, I started hosting parties and curating events and calling artists in, and yeah, creating space for other people to do their artwork. And so I would, weave in somewhere. I would make videos and project them behind the performance, or I started DJing, and I started playing around in that creative space. So that was really fun for me.
And talking of your art, there's some behind you, isn't there?
Oh yeah, this is really, I made it into a video, so it spins.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it last year in the spring. It's like the chrysanthemums and the asters and the crystals,
You're
and
like, I could just dive in.
yeah, so imagine it spinning.
Mm-hmm. I am.
And so now it hangs on my wall. The flowers are not there,
Mm-hmm.
but you can spin it still. And I made a flower essence from all the flowers, and so
Beautiful.
I still take that, as a
Mm.
inspiring plant allies to help me
Excellent.
through the days. Um, so yeah, now I do like experimental kind of smaller video stuff, and I'm not really working in the film industry anymore. That just became not creative anymore after a while. It just became like a paycheck, and
Mm.
kind of it's nice to feel like you're good at your job, but it's also hard to be criticized all the time, or make things look perfect, or
Because nature's not perfect, and you're massively inspired by nature as well, aren't you? Yeah.
yeah.
That's beautiful. You've followed your heart, basically, what works for you, and you've said yes to what works for you and no to what doesn't. So wonderful. Mm. How did that feel for you navigating that kind of world, if you don't mind me asking? There is a reason to this.
Yeah. I actually, during that time, I wasn't very in tune with that part of myself, and I was in patterns of people pleasing, and working with toxic people, and which I'm still doing. trying not, trying not to, but it's like, okay, well, it doesn't feel good, and
Mm,
I don't need to kill myself for somebody else's approval. And in the
perfect.
scheme of things, like, this is a commercial that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no like real value happening here. There's no heart connection, or so there's a series, coming into, my heart space and opening my throat, and really speaking up for myself, and
Really speaking your truth. I can
having
feel that. Yeah.
boundaries. And having
Mm,
boundaries aren't a bad thing. They're just, what is your yes and what is your no. And when you know that, it's not that you're saying no, it's that when you say no, you're saying yes to something else.
yeah,
Like, what
absolutely.
is the yes?
And did you find with that as well? Because I was also, and have gone into that little pattern sometimes as well, a prolific people pleaser. Did you find that your body, any time, did you ever feel a little unwell when you were in certain situations?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, that's actually a segue into one of the, like, a profound artwork experience that I've had.
Oh.
So yeah, I was struggling a lot with pain in my shoulder, pain in my neck, but also having um instead of being able to speak, like, things come out in different ways.
Mm.
So I would get, hives, or like cold sores, or like
Mm.
just really like a lot. Like, maybe it happens to, a normal person once every 6 months or something, and it happened to me like 3 times a month, which is not good.
Mhm.
um
I hear you.
so yeah, unlike, I didn't know that this I would find this, but so this artwork that actually um connected all the dots for me was finding this book in a thrift store, and it was about biocircuits, which are energy healing devices. So it's made of copper and in a certain um, like a circuit pattern that you lay on, and you hold these rods of copper in your hand. And so you use it for regulating your nervous system and circulating
Amazing.
your own energy. So instead of, so we express energy from our hands and from our head and from our feet. And so when you use a device like this, you complete your own circuit. And so your energy becomes circular. So now you're getting energy from yourself. You're kind of re-energizing yourself and healing in
Beautiful.
that way.
And do you work with the biocircuits with your clients as well?
I do through some artworks that I made,
Mm.
but yeah, so I made so the first time I found this biocircuit in this book, they may have directions for you to make your own. So I made it out of copper wires, and since I was experiencing so many of these like outbreaks and this nervous system dysregulation, I
Mm.
began using this tool a lot because I was trying to, calm myself down and figure out how to get through the stress. And like I was just very disconnected from my body and my
Mm.
emotions, and how how do I see this stuff before it becomes a physical like illness?
Mm.
Um,
Beautiful.
and yeah, so I did this a lot. And then one day I felt this energy turning in my spine. Like I felt this, like this Kundalini rising.
Mm.
And that was the first time I ever really felt anything, in my body. And I was just so uh, amazed and really I became obsessed at that point that, everyone needs to have this experience. Everyone needs to feel this and understand like this energy world that's happening. And so I
Empower
made this
themselves. Yeah.
over and over
Yeah.
again
Yeah. Did you
in
feel you
different
wanted to
forms.
help people empower themselves?
Yeah,
Yeah.
big time. So that was really my motivation, my inspiration for starting, yeah, the artwork. It was like this process of how do I make it accessible and how do I introduce it to people, and finally the last form it took was in 2018. I combined it with all these other tools that I had been making. So now it's this platform you lay in, and you lay on the circuit, and then above you you're laying inside a pyramid, and then the pyramid is pumping water through the whole system, and the water is actually this conduit for spirit communication. And
Okay.
so it becomes this this portal, this opening for people to interact with their guides. And
Beautiful.
like I didn't, in my mind, I didn't know, all this. And I got an opportunity to create an artwork for this show. And so I had been working with mushroom teachers. And so sometimes when I have a little block, like, how do I do this? Can you help me? I need some assistance. Then I will have a little ceremony and, ask how many mushrooms should I try for this? Like, I'm not, gonna go blast off and just be on a, it's not about like having a mushroom experience like that. Um,
You mentioned Plant Ally. It's
yeah.
working. Yeah. Would you
So
explain a little bit for some of the viewers and listeners that don't really understand plant allies and working with the elements? Could you explain a little bit of how you work with them, please?
um well, I am in really close communion with these specific beings. Like I grow them myself, and so they just become real teachers for me. And like, you know, some people have scary experiences with plant medicines. And for me, they really showed me, I really had to get through all this fear that they were showing me, um, to come into my spiritual practices, actually, to see when
Okay.
I see, you know, when I see something that doesn't look very nice, it doesn't mean, you know, they want you to give your power to them with fear. And the mushrooms really taught me, like, you know, you got to get into that 0 point field with, there's no judgment, there's nothing. You're just like, oh, what are you here for? Like, um yes, do you have a message for me? So it
Wonderful.
it took a little while to get to that point, but
Yeah.
they really taught me to, yeah, come into these fear moments with like neutral, that zero energy, um, because
Beautiful.
there's always a message that they're trying to, you know, say. And maybe they do need to, this entity or whatever that's coming up, maybe it does need to leave this plane, but
Mhm.
you can call in other allies like angels, for assistance and release. It's like, you know, transmuting this pain and suffering.
Mm. With compassion. Yeah.
And as soon as you offer a prayer,
Mm.
it's like whatever projection that they were trying to, you know, scare you with, kind of, it just melts,
Mm.
or they leave. It's like, oh, I don't want a blessing. Okay, I better get out of here.
Yeah, it's too much
Like,
light for me.
so
Oh,
maybe that
that's
didn't answer the
gorgeous.
question,
Well, you
but
did.
there are,
It-
okay, let's go
yeah.
back a little. Let's see. So
There's
when
no
you
right
kind
or wrong answers. We're just having a conversation. So, you know, that's why I always say it's going to go the way it's going to go, and we're guided what's supposed to be coming out as we're talking. So, yeah, there's no, and I think,
yeah,
you know, with the way the mushrooms have been teaching you as well, it's, you know, there's energy. There's no good or bad. It's just energy, and you said it so beautifully, just having a neutral, looking at everything at a neutral basis. And um, there's so much about, oh, we have to embrace our light and not our dark, but we have to embrace both, don't we? We have to appreciate our shadows as well as our light, because that encompasses all of us. So yeah. I just went off on one there.
yeah, and like, our shadow is really, you know, our pain. It's like, and if you don't want to look at it, it's just gonna keep saying, hello, I'm still here. um
Yeah.
um, so yeah, the mushrooms were really, so in my mind I had, you know, this structure, and I didn't understand that what the water element was. I just thought it was a place that people see, that it's water moving through and it's a fountain or something. But really, I had my first encounter with a spirit who was one of my guides.
Yeah.
And she told me that she's a water protector, and the water is for praying. So before you get into this device that I made, you go to the water first and you pray and you put your intentions there. And that's really the activation of the whole experience. Like once you start communicating with the water, it's like that's where the portal opens. That's the whole that's the whole thing. And
Oh,
you know,
healing. Yeah.
I didn't understand that. And you know, when I heard that, it was like, wow, this really needs to be created. It needs to be shared. It's really um yeah, it's very powerful for people to connect to their to the water for one, and then to their ancestors, or you know, guides or whatever. Like I had a journal for people to write their experience afterwards. And before that, I thought it was just me, like, okay, I'm talking to the spirits, okay.
Yeah.
But I saw people, you know, writing their experience afterwards, I realized that this this was happening for them too.
Gorgeous.
And
So was this an
like,
installation that, so, because obviously you create safe spaces, so this is a hugely safe space. So was this an installation that you created, and then as people came in to view in the studio, the gallery, and they experienced it, just, you didn't speak to them about anything, they just experienced it?
right, yeah, it was in a gallery for a minute, and I had it like an instruction thing, so you go do it yourself. And
Where
then
is it? I
after,
want to see it. I want to experience
right now I'm in Burlington, Iowa.
Okay,
Like, and I dragged it across the country with me, thinking
brilliant.
that my guides are tricky sometimes. They get me motivated by, they dangle some carrots in front of me. And so I have really ambitious, ideas about things. So I'm here in Burlington. I created kind of like a 6-month residency for myself.
Yes.
And I was thinking, oh, my friend gave me a space to work. So I have a big building that's like in the center of town.
Wow.
Really, it's like a ghost town. Like nobody walks by, and I don't know anyone here. And so I had all these ideas of opening space and, having my healing practice, and but really it's really a space for me to do my work. So
Mm,
I'm just like kind of
mm.
in another hermit mode here, even though I thought I was ready to, like, come out in the world.
You
Um,
are.
but that's what I need. That's what I need. So it's okay. Everything's working out perfectly.
Yeah. So you're immersed in your work. That's beautiful. And you know this anyway. All the right people are going to find you exactly the right moment. Everything is happening exactly as it's supposed to happen. So I think that's gorgeous. I mean, as an example, I've actually taken myself off social media for the last, I'm on day 20 tomorrow, so I can do one of my own practices that I created, which is the 22 days of feeling self-love. So I hear you. And we have to do that, as an intuitive empath. We have to we have to go on the biocircuits basically, don't we? And I feel that's where you are at the moment. You're just recharging. You're in a new place, you're recharging, you're creating. It's beautiful. So I feel there's many of us who have stepped back a little bit at the moment, ready to come out. Yeah, and
I've
be
been
seen.
I was just in Egypt in November with Foster and Christos,
Oh, wow.
and so before that I could see the way I was moving in the world was, I have this plan and it's in the future. So I'm going to do everything I can to get there. Like everything, all my mind is focused on the future of this thing that's going to happen. And so starting in April of last year, I was focused on November. Like, how do I get to Egypt? Everything
Mm,
is Egypt. And then I got this opportunity to come to Burlington. Then even before I was in Egypt, I was already switched to Burlington. Like, I'm getting to Burlington, like, and now I'm here, and it's like I'm dropped into this time space limbo where I really have to be present. Like,
mm,
my mind can't be anywhere in the future. It
gorgeous.
it needs to be right here.
Yeah.
And there was, I had like, a relationship that I was inspiring me while I was here, but I didn't realize how much energy actually it is to be wanting to be somewhere else, or thinking about this person who wasn't here.
Mm,
And all this energy was going out there, and really, like, I took a pause from that situation, and it really has been an unexpected relief feeling that actually I need to just be here. I can't be anywhere else right now.
just be present. You said it so beautiful. Just be present. Yeah, absolutely. And be and feel all that beauty. I mean, you create so much beautiful energy and you do so much for so many people. I don't know whether you realize that. And I just feel it's really important that because you talk about self-care a lot, and it's so important, isn't it, to look after ourselves first. So when you realize that that's where you have to be at the moment, that's that space that you've created, and the right people with the same vibrations are going to find you, are finding you, not going to, that's future, are finding you. So yeah, that's I'll try not to go off on too many tangents. I get messages.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear them.
I'll speak to you afterwards, but yes, I get messages. So so there's a couple of things that I'd like to ask you, if that's okay, because I've already said obviously you're hugely inspiring, and you have such a beautiful, gentle energy about you. And you've already mentioned about how in the film industry, although obviously it's stepping stones to where you are now, what would you say to somebody who is in a similar position to where you were, where I mean, it's first of all, it's incredible the way you've had all the signposts. You were in the bookshop when you were a child reading about aliens, and then you found the most incredible book in the thrift shop. Talk about signposts and following your intuition. What would you say to let's say there's some people out there who've got a real burning passion to create, and for one reason or other they're not supported, or they're in feelings of overwhelm, comparing themselves to others, for example. Many may have seen your work and thought there's no way I could do anything like that. So when people compare rather than appreciating what they have, we're all unique, and as much as we say we're all unique, we all have that element of am I good enough, etc., etc. What would you say to somebody who's in a situation like that at the moment, but can't see a way out? Please.
Yeah, I mean, I often feel that way too. I go to the museums and I look at all the ancient artworks, and these people are supposed to have chiseled this beautiful masterpiece with a chisel. We're here using power tools, trying to like get the right angle, and it's not working. And it's like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, should I give up? Like these, I don't know. I can't. I'm never gonna do that. But really, I got a message a few months ago about, like, I have this star on my palm
Wow.
as like an honoring of my guides, as my communication device right here.
Yeah.
And they're just saying like, um you're a mirror of the divine. What your job is to do is to shine like we do. It's like we're shining at you, you have to shine back at us. And it's not about career or it's not about all that. It's really about finding your joy. Like, what is it that is making you inspired and happy? And like when you're in that frequency, like that's your job. You need to hold that frequency of love. Like you are basically, love is your human essence. And there's so many distractions and chaos in this world to pull us away from that, and to keep us separated from getting to know that side of ourselves. We're stuck in the career and the money and the capitalism, just like
Right.
survival. We're stuck in survival so that we can't really go into our self and find forgiveness and compassion and come back into love. Like that's not easy work. I mean, it should be something that we're all doing from birth, like cultivating our self-care and knowing that we are beautiful and that we are loved, and it is our human duty to love others, and
Yeah.
to create heaven on earth. Like
Yeah.
this place should be heaven on earth. And so I think it's like, not, you don't have to do anything because we all have this unique frequency. And what you project out can never be the same as what somebody else is projecting. So even if you might have a similar message, you're gonna be resonating with different people and coming in contact with different people. Like if I stay in Burlington my whole life, maybe my community will feel me, but maybe I won't be, on the internet with millions of followers, but the people who are close to me are really going to be affected, and that really changes the environment, changes the world.
That's beautiful. That's really gorgeous advice. Thank you. Excuse me, my throat chakra is going now. Have a little rose tea. That is so beautiful. Thank you. And I find that's really important as well, because it's not about numbers, it's not about followers, and we're in such a it's incredible the age that we're in, excuse me, in terms of communication, in terms of, being able to, the way we are, I'm in Spain, you're in Iowa, and we're chatting. It's incredible. But there's a real addiction, isn't there, to the likes and the followings and the, it's put out there for us to compare. So that's really sound advice. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, just work from love, no comparison. And I have no doubt that you will have you already have helped so many people, and you'll be helping so many more. Did you have a lot of support when you were a child and you found the bookshop and you immersed yourself into metaphysics and alien encounters? Excuse me, did you you mentioned your father's girlfriend with the costume design, but did you have support in really embodying who you are and really bringing out that gorgeous creative aspect of you? Did you have that support?
I think my family was pretty open, but not really, having any knowledge in those realms. So
because how old were you? Sorry to interrupt, but how old were you when you were in this bookshop with metaphysics?
I mean, that's kind of where I was always going. I don't really know. Let's see. I mean, maybe in junior high, or I don't know. I could read, go ride my bike to the bookstore or whatever.
Amazing. I just find that absolutely amazing.
But yeah, I lived in kind of like, a suburb, and so there wasn't too many things going on to like get into except for trouble. I did some of that too, I'm sure, but
it's all part of the learning experience. So excuse me, it's about 41 degrees here, so and the energy is wonderful as well. So your family was supported, but they didn't quite understand the elements that you were exploring. And did you find so you mentioned, with college, did you find other, like-minded people around you when you started exploring more into the creative world, more supportive people there?
creative art people, yes. I didn't really come into my spiritual awareness until maybe like 24 or something around there.
Okay.
And so I don't even know who I was. I can't remember like how I acted, like what I was thinking of. Like I was a total different person than I am now. I hope that was nice. I don't know. But it really, I mean, there was a few things that shifted for me in a small amount of time. And I think it really pulled me into the spiritual world. The first energy modality I got into was Reiki. And that really made me I needed to feel really clear about my energy before I wanted to work with other people. So that really led me to stop drinking also around that time. because I was, it's just messy energy when you're
Yeah.
involved in the drinking world.
Yes. Yes. I've
Um,
been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and given the t-shirt away.
and that was a process that, like,
Yeah.
took a little while to really cement in, but it became really obviously important that that needed to happen if I was going to be some kind of creating safe space for other people.
Mm, mm.
And um and then I went in. Nah, I don't even know how to talk about any kind of spiritual evolution. It's like
Well, it's
uh,
personal. It's personal, so you don't have to. There isn't, there isn't anything that you feel not to talk about. Then that's absolutely fine. It's a
um,
I understand. It's a personal thing. I did have another question for you, and it's just gone off into the ether.
yeah. I mean, it just became like, once the awareness happened, it became, this big avalanche effect where it's
Mm,
like, oh, I need to consume everything spiritual. How do I like advance myself? I went
mm,
into the ministry program and I learned mediumship and I became, a reverend and
mm,
was furthering my Reiki. And then it just was like everything fast, fast. How can I
mm.
get there fast enough? And now finally I'm feeling uh settled in this, like I don't need to, I'm not seeking so hard. I'm not
Mm.
kind of like, not that I figured everything out or my healing is finished, of course. um, but I'm not in this race to like
Mm,
understand or open up. Like I am opening and
mm.
it's a process. And every time I'm like, can it, like, how do I get through this faster? Like,
No
and my friends
chance.
are,
Yeah.
it is happening. Okay, it's happening. Like, oh, okay.
No, that because I with doing the 22 days of feeling self-love, it's a video series that I created because I can go, and I'm sure you can as well, with visualization journeys, I do it like that. So before, when I went into it, I was doing it in about 2 or 3 minutes, but the meditations and the journeys that I've recorded obviously are a lot longer, and I was told this time, get off social media and do your journey, listen to the whole thing. You're not doing this, 1, 2, 3 done. It's really being in that energy, isn't it? And I understand, exactly what you're saying. It's about just sitting in it and feeling it, and because it's all about emotions and feeling and love. And if we're like a Duracell bunny racing to try and get to the finish line, we're not experiencing anything in the moment. So that's, yeah, I think that there's a real beautiful, really beautiful elegance and tranquility of just breathing. Yeah, that's really lovely. So do you have, on that note, do you have and again, you don't have to share it, but do you have a morning practice that you don't have to share exactly what it is, but just to encourage people? For me, for example, I find it's really important because you may have noticed I have quite a butterfly brain. And a very lovely friend of mine told me I had a Renaissance brain. I was like, okay, thank you very much. But it's like mercurial. I'm here. So it's grounding. And, I have to really keep myself on this earth to enter into the day. That's mine. Um,
Mm.
so is there anything that you really embody into your morning practice that you would like to share with us, or not?
Um, yeah, I think my practice might be a little extreme right now because I'm in a ritual that
Right.
is for the entirety of my time here. So I get up at 5:30 and I have an hour just like for prayer or meditation. And then I do it again for sunset, an hour. So it's 2 hours of the day.
Mm.
Uh, the hard part really was in the morning. Like 5:30 is not very nice. But I've been doing it now for 2 months, and it's okay. I've been consistent, and sometimes you might need another nap. Like, you can go back to bed if you want, but
Have a siesta.
get up at 5:30 and then start your day. Wow, I have
Mm.
like 6 extra hours of the day, and I've been writing. So I'm in a program for Akashic mentorship, working with the Akashic records, and
Fabulous.
part of that, like, the homework is just open your records every day. So after I do my meditation, then I come out and I open my records and I start writing. And
Beautiful.
wow, it's really, like, really amazing. Like,
Mm.
to just, like, I also was kind of, I don't feel like a writer. And so opening the records, it feels like it's a conversation I'm having. I'm recording like a spiritual process.
Mm.
And so getting into that, like, opens the doors for writing and for creating. Like,
Mm.
you don't have to, like, create stories and be a writer and all this stuff. It's like, just start, like, opening that stream of consciousness and, like, letting it out.
Mm.
Um so that's really put me into, like, a discipline that feels really good. And just, like, it's healing work.
Mm.
Like,
Gorgeous.
part
Yeah.
part of my practice is also doing theta healing, which is like going into belief systems. And that's like a specific practice that's kind of has a prayer invocation. And there's it's a specific method, but really it's like, what is this pain in my hip? Like, where is it coming from? And the method teaches you how to figure out where the energy came from. It came from a past life. Did it come from your genetic lineage? And go back into that space and time where your body's holding that energy, and, like, talk, like, send it a prayer, like, release it. Like, so that's really part of my daily exercises also, is like I have these sort of ailments that come up, and I know that I can get through it myself,
Mm.
but it's like layers and layers and layers. Like, I've been working on this for 2 years. Like,
We're
okay,
onions.
like, how, like, what's happening? Like, can we
One
move
layer, but
on?
another layer, and another layer.
And yeah, it's really, I think it's just so important. We're so disconnected for how the physics of our body and mind works. Like, this quantum field is really where we are.
Mm.
And, like, if you want to, taking pills and going to the doctor works too, but then once you figure out that the pills are made of herbs and flowers and beings, and you could actually talk to them and ask them for assistance, and then it makes the pills work better because
And you
they're
can, yeah, yeah.
helping.
And
Really
speak to your
help
wounds. Yeah.
to your wounds and pull out all the swords and stuff. Like, oh, wow. Just like, that's, yeah, I thought you were going to ask me to introduce myself, and I was going to be like, well, it's just this, like, evolving situation where I'm learning that all my multi-dimensional selves are expressing now, and, like, past, present, and future is now.
Mm.
And, like, all these are coming out, they want to express in my art. Like, I have one aspect who has I want to say a history, but a simultaneous reality, I guess, where they spin frequencies, sort of like these indigenous people who you see them. There's a ritual where they climb up a pole and they jump off the pole, and they have ropes attached to their feet, and they're just spinning. And these are like medicine, healers.
Wow.
So I have this aspect who wants me to spin. And so my next, uh venture, I bought a pole to
Thought you
do
might have
some
done.
pole dancing.
Yeah.
um and I've never been on a pole before, and this is it's just like, this is something that wants to express through me,
Mm,
and I'm just gonna go there and see what happens.
wonderful.
And I know that it's also gonna connect me to this, sexual energy that
Mm.
is also something that's, repressed and, whatever. So it sounds weird, maybe, and out
Doesn't
of the
sound
blue,
weird.
but that's the next journey.
There's been just listening to you, the main theme, which I love, has been about the conversations I've had with everybody so far, has been joy. Just have joy in what you're doing. That's just, I mean, let's talk about keep it simple. Just have joy. That's it. No judgment. Like you said, you don't have to have a million followers on Facebook to show that you're an artist, or it's just about embodying it and enjoying it. And I love that you've got a poll. I think that's fabulous.
I haven't set it up yet, but next week, I mean,
Excellent. Oh, it'd be brilliant to hear what the guys get you to do. Because one of the things as well, like the joy of being in art. I was told, for example, when I was in, I think, first year at secondary school, that I couldn't draw. And would you say that there's so, when we're talking about, shadows and wounds, that there's quite a lot of imprints that we take on from what society tells us when we're younger. So, for example, I was told I couldn't draw. As an intuitive empath, that stuck with me. It's like, well, I can't do that then. And it's only recently, just a few years ago, I just, every now and then, I just get a piece of A4 paper, I get some like kiddie paints or something, and I don't care. I just love it. I immerse myself into it. I don't know what I'm drawing, and I don't have judgment with it. And it's just fun. I
mm,
think, would you say that there's an element, so when we're younger, then also when we're older as well, that everything, there's like this element of perfectionism, of not showing it to people and until it's perfect, or we take on what, and it's nobody's fault, it's just what we hear when we're younger, because others are speaking to us through their stories. But as intuitive empaths, we've taken that on. Would you say that's an element of intuitive empaths hiding?
yeah. Um, and sometimes that's just, that's that's the journey we had to go through to get to where we are now. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, why do I feel so unworthy? Like, what, or not valued, or, I'm not good enough, like all these things. And then, you start to paint or you start to draw, and you're like, oh, actually, I can do this and it feels good. And I don't know, it's like, that's like making mistakes. Like, we're never really making a mistake. We're always in the process, in a learning process. It's like,
Mm.
now, okay, I made this mistake. Really, it's just, how do I do it better next time? It's like, I can't draw either. And I can't, I don't
Did you
do
say
math
you
well.
can't draw?
I mean, I can draw like
Yeah.
shapes and like,
Okay.
I mean, I can draw. Everyone can draw.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I just,
But
let's
I'm
go
just
back on that.
saying,
Everybody can draw,
everyone
everybody can
can
sing,
draw,
everybody can
everyone can
dance
sing, everyone can dance.
and paint.
Um, but I never felt like,
And right.
a great artist that I can use my pencil to
Okay.
do something amazing. But what was I
Sorry, I
saying?
was looking around because something's dropped in my room when you were speaking earlier, and also my cat keeps trying to get in.
um oh, okay. So in my work I do a lot of geometry, and like,
Sacred geometry.
I can't do math. So, but I realize, I don't have to know how to do math because everyone else did it for me. I just Google it, and like, I I find the angle that I need, or,
Yeah.
um, so
But
it's kind
that's
of,
childhood as well, isn't it? So that's childhood, that you felt that because somebody or when we were growing up, the society at that point said, you're not good at maths because of.
Yeah, I mean, I should be able to, it's something that I'm going to work through. I think there's definitely a block there, because math is the universal language, right? Like I must know how to speak that language.
Well, considering you've created a sacred space which has a pyramid on it, you're
I
working
mean,
with copper. It has, you've got water flowing through, and you don't think you're good at maths.
well, I was copying the angles of the Giza pyramid, which is not easy. Like those are specific angles for specific reasons and specific frequencies to come through. And, these ancient beings really knew something, and trying to recreate all these things, good luck.
Brilliant. Yeah, but you knew that from a young age. You were with the aliens in the bookshop, so that's fine.
Yeah, actually, my dad, when I was growing up, he had a big poster of Chichen Itza pyramid on his bedroom wall. And so
Okay.
that I'd see that every time
Mm.
I would visit him, and that was really like it felt like it was, the entire wall, but then I saw it as an adult and it was a picture like a third of that size. But for
Yeah.
me, I was like,
Wow.
wow.
It's interesting, isn't it? This perspective that we see when we're younger, and then we go back to something when we're, well, I wouldn't say I'm mature, but when we're older, and look at something and look at it through our eyes compared to the eyes of a child. Yeah, it's very interesting. There is something else I would like to ask you. I mean, obviously, where can people see you at the moment? You're in your process. I will share all the information because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would like to get in touch. And I'm in a Akashic channel as well. And I'm a huge believer in synchronicity and signposts and following your intuition. And would you say very much what's happening at the moment, we're going much more towards the divine feminine. So as a community of planet Earth, if you like, we're all very much more heart-based. But would you say as well that we were talking about fears before? Would you say that sometimes with all the energies that are going on, with all the changes that are going on, some people can feel that overwhelm? And you've already really beautifully shared what your morning practice is. Would you have any words of wisdom for people who maybe can't get up at 5:30 yet? They don't have an hour, or they could, maybe they could, but they don't have an hour for sunrise and an hour for sunset. Is there anything that you would say, let's say baby steps, that you would recommend anybody who, like I said before, is in a similar position to how you felt? And I don't want to say anybody's in a rut because we're all going through whatever processes we're going through, but somebody who's blossoming, who's trying to push through, but they don't have a morning practice because it's wake up, on the phone, go to work, do this, like iambic pentameter, in automatic pilot mode. Is there anything that you would suggest to them to kind of help them to take them out of that, just for 15-20 minutes, just to really feel themselves? Is there anything that you would suggest that they can do? Get a poll. I'm
See.
kidding.
Well, yeah, it doesn't have to be in the morning or, a specific time. Um, I think it might be nice to start with like some self-care practice. Like if you can take a bath and, be in there for 10 minutes and just close your eyes and be with yourself in the water in the bath.
Mm,
You can do that every day, I think,
mm,
no matter what time it is. Or, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, we put pressure on ourselves to have things perfect and create the perfect time and the perfect place, but really like we can create that in our mind. Like just close your eyes and maybe put in some earplugs, or like imagine this sacred space in your mind and go into the woods in your mind. If
Beautiful.
you can't go in real life, or and just give yourself that time. And I think, yeah, we are bombarded with all the technology and the addictions of the Netflix and the computers, and it's hard to create that space because we're like, oh, maybe somebody texted me right now, I should look at my phone. Can you just like set a timer for 10 minutes? Or if you need to lay down, just like you don't necessarily have to be taking a nap, but just lay on your bed and close your eyes for 10 minutes. And that's not, you don't have to sit up in a meditation pose. It can just be lay on the floor for a minute. That's it.
Yeah, I like that.
It's like, I know that feeling where I don't allow myself to rest until it's time to sleep. Like, don't sit and just, it's like I'm going and doing the things, and
because
like,
if we're not busy, we're lazy.
yeah, just close your eyes for a minute and kind of, yeah. And even that space sometimes is when you hear those shadows start talking, and maybe that's why people don't do it, because they're like, well, what is that voice I'm hearing? Like, why is it talking to me in a negative way? And that's also a lot of, for empaths, that could be just the garbage of the media. It could be the consciousness of the area. Like, it doesn't have to be something that's you or inside you. It's not always, oh, I'm a bad person because I'm hearing these scary words in my head when I close my eyes. It's not always yours. And if it is something that you are hearing, it's not going to go away unless you say, oh, what is this thing? Like, and offer it a prayer, offer it a blessing. You don't have to be a spiritual person or know all the prayers and all the things. You can just, there's a Hawaiian practice that just says things come up. The Ho'oponopono is like, you say, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry. Those 4 words, in any order you want to say them.
I love Ho'oponopono. It's wonderful.
Really powerful. Yeah, I think it's scary for people to be with themselves because they don't understand where are all these thoughts coming from, and how do I get through it, and do I need a therapist, and I need a specialist to help me figure it out. Actually, you just gotta sit there and listen for a minute. You have to be the witness. And you don't don't have to attach to all those things. Like in the Buddhist meditation, you just witness the things going by and you see them, but it doesn't mean that it's you, or I don't know. It's a practice. It's a practice.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I remember Foster saying to us, if thoughts come up, it's like, it's just a thought. It's just a thought. And one of the ways that I look at our inner critic as well, and this has come up a couple of times with various conversations, is I call it our inner protector. So when negative thoughts are coming up, perhaps like derogatory, you're this, you're that, all it is our inner protector trying to protect us, because we're going into pastures new. Because when we were cave people, if there was a T-Rex running towards us, or a rock boulder rolling towards us, that was change. And so our limbic brains, the science of it, our limbic brains, when we have change, go into this danger mode. And that's when some thoughts can come up. So that's really beautiful. I love what you've said about just Ho'oponopono, perfect, lying down, taking time. That's really, really beautiful. Really gorgeous. Thank you. Really lovely. Is there anything else you would like to share that you feel to share?
Yeah, I think I'll just say like what my art is doing now is really intertwined with my healing practice, because
This
that's
was
what
one of my questions. Yeah. So how is that all marrying together? Thank you for reminding me of my question.
well, now I'm creating. So I studied a lot of spiritual, like geometry kind of things, where you're accessing different realms with different angles and colors and things like that. But so I'm trying to well, I'm not trying. I'm allowing the elements to come through. So it's kind of like creating a talisman with an object. Like really what I'm doing is creating antenna systems. So I'm projecting a frequency, and the object is an antenna, and it's generating energy out. And so I really want to be activating people. Like just when they see something with their eyes, will be triggered something inside of them, or heart opening, or it's not really I'm getting more specific now with my processes, but really it's about anchoring this love energy into the world, like creating these PowerPoints. Like we can create them, like working with the earth. The earth has its own PowerPoints. And when you put something that's magnifying on top of this certain point, it's it's letting the earth speak louder. So yeah, I think that's what I'm making, like crowns and little cone hats, and trying to receive the information as best as I can, and just using crystals and all these elements to really help that process.
I love that you're using a crown, so you're connecting with your sovereignty. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, these things, like, why did the royalty wear crowns? Well, it's because they're amplifying their energy, and they're like, it's a tool, it's a device.
Yeah. Can you tell
Not
us a bit more about that?
jewelry.
That's fascinating.
It's not just jewelry. It's
No.
like stones, and
There's
it's
a lot of
power.
it. Yeah, power. I keep muting by
Oh.
so the piece you're specifically working on, it's really interesting because obviously Christos and Foster as well, and I've studied the higher mind training with Christos, and we work with theta energy as well. And also, when you were talking about the energies and the spiraling, I studied his astrological witchcraft, and that was. Have you studied that with him as well?
I would love to, not yet.
Yeah. So, but it was. I'm sure you'll understand this when I say, but when you speak and when certain people speak, I just see images, and I just see, I see basically, and I can just see all these really, really incredible magnetic energy PowerPoints, almost not PowerPoint as in presentations, but PowerPoints that you're creating, that people, just by, like you said, just by looking on them or standing near them or standing in them, I see spirals. I just see spirals, spirals and pyramids. And I just see that you're creating these beautiful vortexes of self-care. That's what I really feel that's happening with you at the moment. I think it's beautiful. I can see it.
Hey, yes.
Yay.
Yay.
So I'm going to let you breathe now. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
Thank
I
you.
will thank you. No, really, thank you. It's been gorgeous. So I will put all of Reverend Angel's details in the information, so you can get in touch should you feel, and follow their work and their journey. And thank you so much for just being so incredibly inspirational and loving and gorgeous and compassionate. And I wish you all the blessings in the world, and thank you for being you.
Thank you.
So much love.